Are you buying a home this year and have questions on whether or not you qualify for a loan? I'm with Claire today and we're going to be talking about what you need to do in order to get a loan. Hey guys, thank you so much. Jesse with Fisco Real Estate Team, hanging out here with Claire Semrad, who's a local lender here in Utah. We're talking today about loans and pre-qualification. So tell me, Claire, if I'm self-employed, and this is one of the biggest things, what do I need to do to prepare for self-employed? Because a lot of times people that already have a job and have W-2s, I mean, they're going right in and getting a loan with no problem, but we really want to target those that are self-employed today.
Right, if you're self-employed or you're 1099, your CPA usually does you a solid by writing off as much income as you can. So that becomes problematic when you apply for the loan because you need to show income. So my tip or key to that would be plan ahead. If you plan on buying a house this year or beginning next year, send in your taxes before they're filed. Have your CPA get them all prepared and then send them to your mortgage professional to go through it and make sure the income is lining up with the home that you want to buy, or that you want to qualify for.
So a lot of self-employed, that's the perk of being self-employed, right? Is to be able to write off taxes and use like a car as a company expense and stuff. So you're saying that they actually should plan ahead and show income on their taxes this year?
Correct, because that's what they'll be going off of is your taxes. So if you've made X amount of dollars and you've written it all off in expenses, you're going to show the lender that you don't make any income.
So jumping into the next one, we're normal human beings, right? So we're all about saving money. If I find the nice shirt that's $20 or the same shirt for $10, I'm going to go buy the two shirts for, at the $10 price, right? So a common thing that I hear as a real estate agent all the time is shopping the rate, shopping the lender, closing costs. What do you have to elaborate on that and go into further depth?
One of the common things I see is the timing, first of all. If you're going to shop interest rates, you want to shop them max maybe 45 days out. Preferably right before you lock the interest rate. Rates change every day, so it's tough to compare a rate a month ago to today. It could be much different.
So when you say lock a rate, can you expand a little bit on that?
Yeah, so when you lock an interest rate in, you look at what the rate costs today, and the lender will actually lock that in. They will just freeze that rate, freeze that cost of what the market is pricing that rate at today.
So when you lock in a rate, that's the rate that you're getting on your home loan?
We'll get close, yes.
Okay.
Anything other further than that, it's not really relevant. You become in a place where even now rates have dropped so much over the last month that a month ago you would have gotten quotes for 0.5% higher. So you really want to time that right so that when you do get that price that you want and you find the mortgage professional that you want, that they're able to lock in that price.
Perfect. And that's something that we hear a lot about as well, Claire, is interest rates. Interest rates go up, they go down, they go side to side. It seems like they're all over the place. What are some economic indicators or things that I as a consumer can look at and know that this is a good time to jump in?
That's a great question because even as a mortgage professional, economically, it's so difficult to price a purchase right. You just have to deal with the market as it comes. Interest rates have always gone up and have always come down, so if you're looking at purchasing, don't try and wait for that perfect interest rate, simply because you may not get it, but you may be able to refinance it a year later, 6 months later. So as far as refinancing goes, it's pretty well out there in the news. You can kind of tell when the feds actually raise rates or they cut rates, you can kind of tell that, but one of the biggest things I do is I stay in contact with the people that I work with and I always give them updates as to where things are so they can time that a lot better.
Great, so would you say that's something that separates a professional lender versus someone that's just churning and burning?
Yes, and that's one of the things I talk about is cheapest isn't always best. There's a level of competency when it comes to a loan officer. There are a lot of call centers out there for loans that won't really answer any questions unless you apply. And that's, to me, is the true mark of a professional, is being able to go over a scenario and give you answers to help you feel confident in applying.
I guess the final thing I wanted to ask is, a lot of times as a real estate agent, I'm talking to people and they are like, hey, Jesse, I want to buy a house, but I can't qualify. And I ask, well, how do you know you can't qualify? And they're like, oh, well, I just know my credit and things like that. A lot of times we have these perceived ideas that I can't qualify or I can't do this, and it's really inhibiting our goal to purchase the home. So what are some things you can expand on that, or different qualification processes?
For the most part, we're really hard on ourselves. So If you have had trouble in the past, just don't think you won't qualify. One of the things about mortgages is they are probably one of, if not the most lenient lending platforms there is. And because I can take certain compensating factors, if somebody has not the best credit or they missed a payment, we can either plan ahead or we can use another compensating factor that is great about that person or great about their history as a borrower. So don't think you won't qualify. That's why it's important to work with somebody that knows what they're doing.
So Claire, another question that I have is, if you are just not there, if you're like barely missing the mark and all hope is lost at that point, like, do I just give up my home search and, just say whatever and just continue to move on renting? Because I feel like a lot of people do that and they just get stuck in the rent and then they explore it a year later, or they just give up altogether and they're renting 20 years later. Like, I have one client right now that's actually been dealing with that, where they've been renting for their entire marriage of 20 years because they got failed their 5th year of marriage and have never looked into it again. For
those people, I would say a lot of times they need a plan. They need to know what to do to get themselves in that position. As a lender and talking to people that have been in that same scenario, I understand that it can be very deflating when somebody comes back and they say, hey, this is actually, you don't qualify for a house. And it can be embarrassing. What I always try to do is I try to be as helpful as possible. So if the scenario doesn't work out and they need to know what they do need to do to get there, then we can create those plans. And those plans can be how to help them get their credit back up. Those plans can be figuring out different down payment options. But to plan ahead and to then know where to go from there gives those people a really hope to own that house, and also gives them some specific things that they know they can do.
Perfect. I know in one of the scenarios that he was talking to me about is he helped a client go to his boss and ask for a $1 raise, and that $1 raise put it over the limit so that he could qualify. So having a good professional lender on your side is extremely important. It's one of those things that are so valuable that you don't even know until you've actually talked to a few lenders and can see the difference in them. And that's a misconception. I think a lot of times when people talk to loan officers is they kind of feel like they're there to turn down loans, when in fact we're here to make them work as much as we possibly can. And so it's in my best interest to get everybody where they want to be. So that's why I'm so motivated to get them that $1 raise or whatever it may be to get the loan to work. Guys, that's why we have Claire here. He went through some of the major questions that I deal with as a real estate agent. Hopefully these questions help you as well. Claire is an awesome lender, like I said, here in Utah. So he's also licensed in other states. So if you're watching this around the world, in the United States at least, give him a call. This guy is awesome. He'll answer any questions, and he's one of the best lenders I've ever talked to. Thanks so much for watching the video today, guys, and have a wonderful day.